They said it couldn't happen. They said WWE would never book it because someone might actually die in that ring. But 20 minutes ago, Brock Lesnar and Femi tried to murder each other on live television. And what we just witnessed wasn't wrestling. It was a legitimate fight for survival between two absolute monsters who forgot they were supposed to be acting. The referee stopped counting. The commentary team went silent. And somewhere in gorilla position, every producer was having a panic attack watching their liability insurance evaporate in real time. This wasn't the match they rehearsed. This wasn't the match anyone planned. And the fact that both men walked out of that ring under their own power is nothing short of a miracle, because what happened in there crossed every line that separates wrestling from actual combat. Before we break down every brutal second of this war, I need to know, have you ever seen a more intense, physical, legitimately dangerous match than what just went down? Drop your answer in the comments right now because I've been watching wrestling for 20 years and I've never seen anything like this. The build to this match was already intense. Femi has been destroying everyone on Raw for 6 months. An undefeated streak that had people genuinely believing he might be unstoppable. He's 6'5", 270 pounds of pure muscle and aggression. He doesn't just beat opponents, he breaks them. He sent 4 wrestlers to the hospital this year alone with injuries that weren't part of the script. Then he made the mistake of calling out Brock Lesnar. Said Brock was a part-timer living off a reputation built 20 years ago. Said the Beast Incarnate was old, slow, and scared to face real competition. Said that when they finally fought, everyone would see that Femi was the real monster in WWE. Brock didn't respond with words. He showed up unannounced 2 weeks ago and hit Oba with an F5 on the entrance ramp that cracked the stage. That F5 wasn't a wrestling move, it was attempted manslaughter. Oba's head bounced off the steel with a sound that made everyone watching wince. Medical checked on him for 10 minutes before he even moved. But Oba got up, smiled through the blood pouring down his face, and challenged Brock to a no disqualification, falls count anywhere match at Raw. The kind of match where there are literally no rules and anything goes. Brock accepted by destroying Oba's locker room with a steel chair while Oba was doing press. Smashed everything. Left the chair bent in half on Oba's gear bag with a note that said, "See you Monday." Question for the comments. Who did you think would win going into this match? Brock or Oba? Be honest. The atmosphere in that arena tonight was electric and terrifying at the same time. You could feel the tension before either man's music even hit. The crowd knew they were about to witness something special, something dangerous, something that might end careers. Femi's entrance was all business. No showboating, no playing to the crowd. He walked to that ring like he was going to war, which is exactly what this was. His eyes never left the entrance ramp. He was hunting. Then Brock's music hit, and the place absolutely exploded. The Beast Incarnate came out with Paul Heyman, but even Heyman looked concerned. Usually he's all smiles and hype, but tonight he looked like a man who knew his client was about to be in the fight of his life. Brock got in the ring and went face-to-face with Oba. 2 absolute monsters, neither one backing down an inch. The stare-down alone was worth the price of admission. You could see in both their eyes that this wasn't going to be a normal match. This was personal. This was about proving who the real monster was. The bell rang, and they didn't even wait for the referee to get out of the way. They just started swinging. Not wrestling. Not working. Just straight punches to the face with bad intentions behind every shot. Brock caught Oba with a right hand that would have knocked out a normal human being. Oba's head snapped back, but he immediately fired back with a forearm that split Brock's lip open. Blood was flowing before 30 seconds had elapsed. The crowd was losing their minds. This was already more intense than anyone expected, and they'd barely started. Brock, being Brock, went for an early German suplex. He grabbed Oba around the waist and tried to throw him, but Oba's too big, too strong. He blocked it, elbowed Brock in the side of the head 3 times, then grabbed him and delivered a belly-to-belly suplex that sent the Beast flying across the ring. Let me repeat that. Femi just threw Brock Lesnar like he was a cruiserweight. The same Brock Lesnar who's been throwing people around for 2 decades just got ragdolled by someone younger, stronger, and hungry to prove himself. Comment below. What was the most shocking moment in the first 5 minutes? Because there were so many. Brock rolled out of the ring, which was smart because he needed a second to regroup. But Oba wasn't giving him any space. He slid out and immediately went after Brock with a running shoulder tackle that drove him into the barricade. The barricade bent from the impact. Fans in the front row scattered. Oba started throwing Brock into everything. The ring post, the announce table, the steel steps. Each impact sounded sickening. Brock's back was already showing welts and bruises. But every time Oba thought he had control, Brock would fire back with something vicious. At one point, Brock grabbed a steel chair and just walloped Oba across the back. The chair bent from the force. Oba arched in pain, but before Brock could hit him again, Oba spun around and kicked the chair back into Brock's face. The crack of metal on skull echoed through the arena. Both men were bleeding now. Both men were breathing hard. And we were only 8 minutes into this war. Brock decided it was time to use his amateur wrestling background. He shot in for a double-leg takedown, got Oba to the floor, and started delivering brutal knees to the body. This was collegiate wrestling mixed with MMA ground and pound. Oba was taking legitimate shots to the ribs that you could hear connecting. But Oba's not just strong, he's technical. He managed to get his legs up, trapped Brock's arm, and for a moment it looked like he was going for an armbar. In a WWE ring, Brock immediately recognized the danger and powered out, lifting Oba off the ground even from that position and slamming him onto the floor outside the ring. Quick question. Do you think this match was too brutal for regular TV? Should this have been saved for a premium live event? Drop your thoughts. They brawled through the crowd, and this is where things got legitimately scary. Oba threw Brock into the concrete wall so hard that chunks of concrete cracked off. Brock was dazed, maybe even concussed at that point. Oba saw blood in the water and charged in for a spear. But Brock moved at the last second, and Oba speared the concrete wall full speed. The impact was so devastating that Oba just crumpled. His shoulder definitely took the worst of it. He was clutching it, grimacing in legitimate pain. For a moment, everyone thought the match might be over due to injury. Brock, being the veteran, immediately targeted that injured shoulder. He grabbed Oba's arm and slammed it into the ring post. Then he wrapped it in the steel steps and kicked the steps. Oba was screaming in pain, and these weren't worked wrestling screams, these were real cries of agony. The referee was checking if Oba wanted to continue. Oba shoved him away and told him to back off, which was both incredibly tough and incredibly stupid because that shoulder was clearly damaged. They made their way back to ringside, and Brock set up for an F5. He got Oba up on his shoulders, but Oba's too fresh, too strong. He fought out of it, landed behind Brock, and delivered a release German suplex that sent Brock flying into the turnbuckles. Brock landed on his neck and shoulders, folding up in a way that made everyone gasp. That should have been a career-ending bump. But Brock is literally superhuman. He got up within seconds, shook it off, and charged at Oba with renewed fury. Comment this. What's the craziest bump you saw in this match? Because there were at least 10 that would have ended most wrestlers' nights. The fight spilled backstage, which is where no DQ matches always get interesting. They crashed through a catering table, sending food flying everywhere. They fought through the production area, nearly destroying expensive equipment. Stage hands were diving out of the way. Oba found a metal pipe somewhere and swung it at Brock's head. Brock ducked, grabbed the pipe, and they had this tug-of-war over a weapon that could legitimately kill someone. The veins in both their necks were bulging from the effort. Brock won the struggle, yanked the pipe away, and cracked Oba across the back with it. The sound was sickening. Oba dropped to one knee, and Brock wound up for another shot. But Oba caught the pipe mid-swing with his good hand, ripped it out of Brock's grasp, and headbutted him so hard that Brock stumbled backwards into an equipment crate. They eventually made their way back to the ringside area. Both men exhausted, both men bleeding from multiple places, both men running on pure adrenaline and stubbornness. Brock tried for another F5. This time he got it, launching Oba into the air and driving him down onto the announce table. But the table didn't break. It held, which might have actually been worse because Oba's entire body absorbed the impact. He rolled off the table and onto the floor, not moving. Brock crawled over for the pin. The referee counted, 1, 2. Oba kicked out with authority, and the crowd exploded. How is this match still going? How are either of these men still conscious? Drop your reaction in the comments. Back in the ring, Brock was setting up for the finish. He was calling for one more F5, the one that would finally put Oba away. He grabbed Oba, lifted him up, but Oba's survival instincts kicked in. He raked Brock's eyes, slid down his back, and hit a devastating spine buster that shook the ring. Oba climbed to the top rope. This 300-pound monster was on the top rope, which nobody expected. He measured Brock and launched himself for a diving splash. But Brock rolled out of the way at the last possible second, and Oba crashed into the mat with nothing but canvas to break his fall. Both men were down. The referee started counting. At 8, Brock started moving. At 9, Oba stirred. At 9.5, both men got to their feet simultaneously, and the crowd gave them a standing ovation for the sheer toughness on display. They met in the center of the ring and started trading punches again. Exhausted, sloppy punches that didn't have the technique of earlier but had all the heart and determination. Every shot was thrown with the intention of ending the fight. Oba got the advantage, hitting a series of clotheslines that finally dropped Brock. He signaled for his finish, a powerbomb he calls the fall of the gods. He lifted Brock up, but Brock fought out mid-move, landed on his feet behind Oba, grabbed him, and hit the most devastating F5 of the entire match, spiking Oba straight down into the mat. The impact was so severe that Oba bounced. Brock covered him. 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar wins in what might be the most brutal match in Raw history. But here's what happened next that has everyone talking. Brock didn't celebrate. He couldn't. He collapsed next to Oba. Both men laid out in the ring. Both men pushed beyond their limits. Final question. Is this the greatest monster versus monster match of all time? Give me your ranking. Medical staff rushed the ring to check on both competitors. Oba had to be helped to the back, his shoulder clearly in bad shape. Initial reports suggest he might need surgery, which means this match might have legitimately injured him. Brock eventually got up under his own power, but he was moving like someone who'd just been in a car accident. Paul Heyman had to help him up the ramp. The aftermath of this match is going to be talked about now for years. Wrestling fans are calling this an legitimate classic. Others are saying it went too far. Everyone watching, WWE put the physical toll might have been too high for entertainment. Some are even calling for investigations into whether proper safety protocols were followed. The match will get 5 stars from critics. It'll be in every Best of 2025 conversation. It'll be shown in highlight packages forever. But at what cost? Oba Femi proved he belongs in the conversation with the all-time greats. He went toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar and nearly won. His stock just skyrocketed even in defeat. Brock Lesnar proved that even at his age, even against younger competition, he's still the beast incarnate. But he also proved he's human because Oba pushed him to his absolute limit. This was wrestling at its most raw, most physical, most dangerous. This was two fighters deciding that predetermined outcomes didn't matter as much as proving who the real monster was. And while Brock won on the scoreboard, both men won respect. Share this video. Tag someone who needs to see this match. Drop your full review in the comments. This is why we watch wrestling. These moments where everything else fades away and we're just watching two warriors test themselves against each other. Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi. Beast versus Monster. One of the greatest matches you'll ever see. And